Hey everybody, welcome back to NBA Summer League, and we are in Las Vegas, Nevada, and this is Shot Talk presented by Sports Business Classroom. I'm Marlena Rodriguez, your host, and here with me is my fellow SBC students and friends that I've gotten to know. Right here to my left is Miguel Hidalgo, Alicia Solomon, and John Hortopoulos. I am not, perfect. I'm just like a normal person. So feel free to say your last name. Go ahead.
John Hortopoulos.
There we go. Okay, so
From Greece.
From Greece. Thank you. So this is the post-game show for the Raptors and the Houston Rockets, and it was an exciting game, guys. This game, a lot of fans were expecting it. A lot of good picks: Jalen Green, Josh Christopher. The list goes on. Scotty Barnes, but the Toronto Raptors kind of took it, right? The 92-76, but I'm going to go ahead and start off with you, Miguel. Like, what did you see throughout this game, and talk about the future of what's to come in this NBA?
Definitely. The 92-76 was a victory for the Raptors. Ishmael Wainwright, Precious Achua, Malachi Flynn looked enormous in this game. Weren't particularly effective on the offensive side. However, they did provide a lot of ball pressure. Forced a lot of turnovers for the Houston Rockets. They weren't able to get going offensively, especially with what happened to Jalen Green. So quite frankly, the Toronto Raptors look very good today.
Yeah, and Alicia, going to you, this is NBA Summer League, right?
Mm-hmm.
And unfortunately, the game kind of got a little slippery in the second half with the ball kind of, I want to say the basketball didn't like any of the teams, right? It was going from the ground, players were diving, but what can you see throughout even this young squad of Rockets with Jalen Green and Josh and Segaldo and just many other talents? Like, what do you see happening?
Well, this team, this is their core that they're going to be rebuilding with. So they're going to have to come here in the Summer League and kind of just prove themselves a little bit and get that NBA feel, because going into this season coming up, they're the ones who are going to be out there on the court, especially with Jalen Green. Like, that their number 2 pick, he has to come out here and just, put up the points.
Right.
And do what he's supposed to be doing, because coming up in this season, he's going to be the star focal point of this team. And you want to see that, especially in Summer League, where a lot of guys are just showing to prove that they can be their me-self. Teams got to be a cohesive unit. And I think the last couple of games, these guys have shown that they can prove that.
Yeah, and speaking of Jalen Green, he was balling out first half, but unfortunately he kind of got a little injury. Nothing too serious, so, Houston fans, relax, take a deep breath. Okay, your boy's okay. But I believe it was like hamstring or a cramp or some sort of his upper thigh. But, he went out, so kind of, due to halftime. Josh, what did you see with, the Rockets? I think Josh Christopher definitely had to take a leadership role.
100%. And with an injury like a hamstring injury, especially here at the Summer League, you want to make sure things don't get out of hand, right? You want to make sure that you're proactive instead of reactive when it comes to these things. Obviously, they can't do that here, but they can at least put some measures in place to make sure that it doesn't get further injured, which they're going to do. And it's important, right? You mentioned Josh Christopher taking a leadership role. He's a guy that's been playing really well on this team. His play on the court has solidified him as a leader. But now with Jalen Green gone, right, the guy who really makes their offense go, it's up to him now to step up and tell them, guys, okay, follow my lead. It's really next man up. That's what this Rockets team's got to be all about. They're coming off a season where they didn't win too many games, but if they're going to start winning games, that's the mentality they're going to have and start keeping that forward.
Yeah, definitely. And like I said, Raptor fans, take a deep breath. I think Jalen Green is fine. After he went to the locker room, he came back in the third quarter, sat on the bench, was cheering his team on. And like I said, when they come back, it's a good sign, right? So
yeah, the number 2 pick, he's going to take a rest.
Yeah, definitely the coaching staff was like, okay, we
Sit
don't
down.
want to see anyone.
Sit down. You got to play next season.
Yeah, exactly. We don't want any, misconceptions out there. But going to, the winning team of tonight, the Raptors, Scotty Barnes, Miguel, you saw him play. You kind of saw what he was about. He was not, the normal Scotty Barnes tonight. And unfortunately, he wasn't filling up the stat sheet like normal, but his emotion was still there.
Definitely. He wasn't effective offensively, however. He was able to impact the game in different ways. He played very, very good defense. He was able to actually get a couple of steals, get a couple of rebounds. So that's the way he can impact the game with actually being an offensive player. That's something that is expected from Toronto Raptors. They took him over Jalen Suggs, so they see something in him that will allow him to grow as one of the future stars of this franchise. Again, he wasn't particularly effective offensively, but everything else that he did the intangibles, the hustle plays. Those are very important for this team, especially in a rebuilding situation which they're currently at.
Yeah, definitely. And Alicia, like of how I mentioned, Scotty Barnes didn't have the night he had, but seeing the second half, especially when Jalen Green was out, they were up by like double digits, and you would think, when you're up that high, you'd be comfortable, you'd be relaxed, but no, his mentality was still there. He was slapping the floor, doing up front, 94 feet, getting that. What's it like to see that from your star player, number 4 pick?
That is exactly what you want to see. When you're picking up that high, you want them to affect the game in each and every area. So whether it's him slapping the floor like he's KG or, hustling up the ball, you want to see that, because that's the intensity that you want going into the regular season. And Scotty, when you have young players like that, there's certain things that you can't teach. And so when you come in and you have that mentality already, I know the coaching staff is probably like, you know what, check mark. Like that's a good check for, what we want to come up season.
I see that KG reference. I like that.
I mean,
the mentality shows.
That's the main reference when you think about guys like that who have that kind of defense first mentality. It's like you see KG going crazy, slapping the floor, licking his chops. It may be a little much, but it gets the job done.
No, definitely. And Scotty Barnes, again, is a player who can do a lot of things different on the court that impact the game. And he wasn't the only one who looked very good. Precious Achiuwa definitely showed out tonight, 19 points, 5 rebounds. Part of that trade for Kyle Lowry. Definitely showed a lot of promise. And he's going to be part of that rotation for the Toronto Raptors. So it's good to see that he got good minutes.
Yeah, definitely. And John, going to you, what are you most excited to see if you're a fan and seeing these franchises, and what is the hype about it?
So if I'm a fan of the Toronto Raptors, I'm definitely going to be a huge fan of that energy, right? I mean, what fan of Minnesota or Boston didn't love KG's energy, like you mentioned, right? Thinking about it, one number we didn't bring up with him, and normally blocks and steals don't tell the whole story, but 5 blocks for a guy that's not like a huge, towering 7-footer, that's a big deal. And it's in a game like this, right? He still kept that intensity up. That's exactly what you want to see from a guy. When you don't want someone that's only there when you're up or when the game's close. You want someone that's going to be there at all points in the game, and to really make sure that intensity is there 100% of the time. And Scotty Barnes is that kind of player.
And definitely they showed out during the entire game. They put pressure on the ball, even when they had double-digit leads. During the fourth quarter, they pressed the full court just to make sure that there was no way that Houston could come back. They only shot 42% from the field, so they didn't shoot particularly well, but they provoked those turnovers that allowed them to have that double-digit lead. Malachi Flynn also looked very good, 13 points, 3 rebounds, and 3 assists for the Toronto Raptors. Definitely a good win for them.
Yeah, definitely. And going back to the Rockets, your guy Segun, you were kind of calling him. I like to say that you have the best accent and best, vocal of his name. So go ahead and tell the people how you pronounce his name.
Alperen Sengun.
There you go. He almost had a double-double. He was
Yes.
so close. A point away from 10 points with, I want to make sure I get this right, 9 points, 11 rebounds. Just talk about his gameplay and what he brings to the team.
Definitely. Like we mentioned, he is part of the Turkish national program. He played for Besiktas, which is one of the historic clubs in the Turkish league. Darren Williams played there during the 2011 lockout, so we know that he can play. Alperen Sengun had 9 points, 11 rebounds, was very active on the boards, and he was using the fundamentals. He's not a particularly athletic guy, so he was using the boxing out and all those corner tricks that they teach you when you're young in the European setting so that you can learn how to play basketball. He got drafted very high. They have very expectations for him in this season. So Alperen Sengun definitely showed out today.
Yeah, and it definitely looked like he wasn't afraid. Even like I said, they were down, guys, by 20 points. And, you still like to see the competitiveness. Again, this is NBA Summer League, so you have to prove yourself, because if we know the NBA, your job can go away just like that, whether you're coaching or player. But as we're talking about players, but going back to Josh Christopher, like Jalen Green was out. John, you were mentioning leadership role. This man had 14 points, 5 rebounds, 2 steals, and 2 blocks. You can't tell me that man didn't work his tail off. But Alicia, tell me about what his defensive end, because this around second half, he went up to block a center shot, and he got to the rim and he blocked it, but unfortunately called a foul. But what's that mentality like, showing that this man puts it all out there?
When you're playing defense, the first thing they're telling you is, get the rebound, go after it, make them feel your body. And you know, when you're seeing he's going up for it and just getting that call, yeah, you're going to get that call, but you know what? That's one of those things that you're going to have to learn. Like, you're going to have to keep doing it. Sometimes you're going to get that call, sometimes you're not. And especially as a rookie, you know, this is your first really experience dealing with NBA and their refs too. So it's just a learning curve, but I think him still being effective and wanting to do it and putting his body on the line, it just shows his kind of defensive mentality. And I think going into that season, the Rockets, they're definitely going to need that. They're going to need that up front because there's a lot going on with the transition of the team. So you want guys to have kind of specialties and not just be in that mode, but be well-rounded.
Yeah.
But if he can do one thing well, that will be it.
Yeah. Oh, go ahead.
No, and definitely that's the plays that keep you in the game and keep you in the
Yes.
rotation. Those hustle plays, the dirty work as they call it, that's what's going to keep you in the game, especially in a young team that's looking for a revamp. They're looking to restructure, to rebuild. So Josh Christopher looked enormous today. That play specifically, we were very surprised that he actually went for it. He risked being posterized, but that's what you want to see. You don't want to see fear in your players. You want to see that they really want to get after it. So definitely those are the plays that keep you in the game.
Yeah, definitely. And going up for it, like, you know, we see definitely many NBA players, and there's two storylines to it, right? There's the posterized, but there's the competitiveness of not giving up, and, you know, the media side of, you know, the hype goes towards, you know, posterizing because it looks nice, right? But talking about this post game and seeing that, you know, the Rockets and the Toronto Raptors are, you know, trying to get better due to their young squad, but also here at NBA Summer League, we're seeing, you know, fans and certain executives watch the game, like Bob Myers, Golden State Warriors GM, watching them. What's it mean when you have other eyeballs and attracting other, you know, other teams, like executives, like watching you?
That's so huge, right? And thinking about it, it's not just other teams. There's European teams all around the world watching these games. There's G League coaches, there's NBA coaches here. There's agents here. There's so many people here. I mean, we walk around the concourse, we bump into someone new every moment. We're going to come off this stage and bump into someone new. So all these players know that there's eyeballs on them at all times, and they're constantly thinking, how can I showcase myself? How can I set myself apart? That's the mindset you have to have in this NBA Summer League if you're going to ever do that, because you need to realize that this is an opportunity you might never get again. So a lot of these guys are coming into these games thinking, this is my last chance. We were talking in the pregame last time about how do you keep you motivated. The way to stay motivated is knowing that this could be your last game. That's a pretty motivating thing, knowing that it's now or never.
A lot of these guys aren't going to make NBA rosters. Like,
Right.
we got to be realistic
Exactly.
here. They're just fighting a chance to just play and be around the league with their coaching staff, with their like, this is sometimes their first experience dealing with that. So them having that experience and to go wherever it's overseas, whether it's the G League, whether it's, you know, on the a training camp, you know, with some of these teams, they're getting that experience in, and that's exactly what you're gonna need going into the seasons.
Definitely. There are different paths to get to the NBA. Summer League is one of them. G League is another, overseas. So just getting those eyeballs on you, getting that repetition, getting the experience of playing with veteran players. You saw Justin Anderson playing for the Houston Rockets.
Yeah.
He has experience with the Dallas Mavericks. He won gold in the America for USA there in Puerto Rico. So you're playing against grown men a lot of the times. We saw a team that has Michael Beasley, Kenneth Farid, Emmanuel Mudiay. So we have seen veterans here that are looking for their shot. You're seeing all types of players and giving it their all. They're playing with high intensity. And when you're trying to live the NBA life, that's what you got to do.
Yeah, and definitely, you know, like I said, there's many guests and fans watching them that aren't part of their franchise or organization, right? You see, you know, Stephen Curry and Draymond Green and Bam Adebayo, and particularly I mentioned those names because they got
They're
they
champs.
got their
They're
gold
champs.
medals,
Like,
and they're champs. Yeah.
Draymond.
forget about our boy. He's from Greece.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, Giannis. Like,
Giannis. Yeah.
seeing these guys here after playing in the Olympics and just coming here, just that just shows the meaning of what this is. You know, like, a lot of your guys, they don't have to come here. They don't have to show up.
Yeah.
You see Paul George represent. You see Patrick Beverley. You see a lot of these guys sitting there rooting for these teams actively. Some of these guys, they're not even going to know their names. You know, they're not going to make the roster. But seeing that effective, you know, rooting for their teams, that kind of camaraderie you can't teach.
Yeah.
And you mentioned the Olympics. Precious Ochoa played for the Nigerian national team, who for the first time in their history made the Olympics. So that says a lot about him, about actually going over to Tokyo and then coming back here to play Summer League to then play what's going to be the regular season. So Precious Ochoa is making a name for himself. He's showing that grind. He's showing that hard work. That's going to look good once executives take a look at him.
Yeah, and again, we're talking about, you know, brotherhood. It's kind of like a brotherhood, right? Just like describe that brotherhood and what is it like to, kind of support one another. And even though you're on opposite teams, when between those lines, it's a different story. But out of the lines and off the court, it's a brotherhood.
You see that all the time, right, in this NBA, right? You see that where guys are really starting to develop these friendships, develop these relationships off the court and right on it, to where there's this mutual respect, guys are working out together, and that's key for the league and seeing how there's this sense of community in the NBA. It's not just all super competitive 100% of the time. Obviously, there's a place for that, but there's also, right, where whether it's team to team or even, like we were saying before, within a team where you have guys that really have each other's backs. Not everyone's looking out for playing time, they're looking out for things like that. Guys are coming in, superstars are coming in and rooting on their rookies. They want these guys to succeed. They want them to be supporting their team. They all want to win. So they're all flying into Vegas during their summer vacation, cutting it short, whatever that might look like, to come here and make sure the guys they're going to come in to training camp with are ready for it, and that they know that their superstars have their back too.
And NBA Summer League is about relationships. GMs are here talking to each other. Players are here cheering for each other. The fans, they're basically coming here, seeing what the prospect is going to be for this season. So the NBA Summer League is for relationships, and quite frankly, the relationships are really strong here.
Yeah, and I know you said relationships, and we're talking about coaches and fans, but, things go on behind the scenes with players talking to other players, wink, wink.
Are you saying there's tampering going on?
No,
I'm not saying anything.
Oh, okay.
I haven't seen anything.
Yeah, we haven't seen anything.
Nope.
We just go by the sources. I haven't gotten anything from Woj, so we're good for now.
Okay, she's saying sources say.
Yeah, sources
We don't know
say.
who the sources is, but sources say.
But is there anyone that, put yourself in the player's shoes, okay? You were just drafted, you're 19, 20 years old. Mm-hmm. You're getting, a big contract, a lot of money from what you previously had, before the NIL kind of started, right, in NCAA. But just kind of put yourself in their shoes and take it all in. What do you think they're thinking?
Well, it's an adjustment. Obviously, they have an income that they didn't have before. It's a matter of finding a right team that you can trust, that can manage your career. The career for NBA players are not that long if you're not a superstar. So they have a 2-year contract. Those first 2 years are guaranteed. The last 2 are player options or team options. So the first 2 years are very vital in what's going to be your NBA career. So they're doing all that they can to make sure that they get as much money as they can, whether it be endorsements, whether it be public appearances, whatever it is. But quite frankly, this is life-changing. That's why so many people try to make it into the NBA. I tried. I failed very, very
You're
badly.
here with us, so that's
Yeah,
good.
yeah.
We got you.
Those who can't play, who come here and show their knowledge. So, yeah, definitely a huge adjustment. And also it's an adjustment to the game. It's more physical. It's quicker. You're not playing against guys who you dominate in the AAU. You got the best of the best here in the NBA, 30 teams with 15 players each. So it's a very huge adjustment, but it's good that they get these reps now.
But think about where they're getting drafted to. The worst teams are the ones that are picking these guys, right? And if they don't have the right infrastructure to help these guys with things like bank statements, things like getting your rest, like the little things that they don't teach in college because you're learning that yourself, you may royally see some people fail.
Yeah.
I'm being very polite here, but you understand what I mean. So
it's happened.
Yeah. So you gotta make sure that the people that are in the organizations, they have people in there in place to help these guys kind of maneuver into their adulthood because they are 19 years old.
Right, they're still kids.
Mm-hmm. It's such a quick adjustment to make and thinking about it, right? I mean, going from being in college, right? Maybe everything you have an athletic director, you have all these things being mapped out for you. Now you're getting into the professional ranks where that's not maybe the case, where now you're out on your own. You're here at Summer League. What do you do in your free time? What do you do when you're not in the arena? Now that's stuff that you don't really isn't really mapped out for you. You have to figure that out on your own. These guys, right? Hopefully they have the organizations in place that are helping them do that.
You better be watching game tape is what you better be doing.
They got about 10 hours. I don't know if they're watching all 10 hours.
They better watch game tape.
At least 7.5.
Yeah, well, again, this is the post-game show for the Houston and Toronto, and you guys, thank you for your, insight and everything. And fans, I hope you enjoyed. This is not the last you're going to see this show, so be sure to stay tuned for more episodes. But again, this is Shock Talk presented by Sports Business Classroom. I'm Marlena. This is Miguel, Alicia, John, and we'll definitely be seeing you around. Thank you.